I love how this one turned out as well. So this one, I of course layered different paper flowers for my stash, and then like a vellum sticker flower as well. And then I put in here the little stickers: do more than exist, remember to play, find joy in the ordinary. And then the background is absolutely darling. It has a table with honey and the bees on there. I just love it with the greenery and everything. So I used the rest of the remaining of the sheet of this paper from this background. I used to circle punch out different circle sizes. Then on top of that, I layered it with the little gemmies, the gold ones, glued, and then of course the stickers. And then here I was able to cut out little flowers, fussy cut by hand from the collection. Hello, my crafty friends. Today with Erica Faye. So today I have a little different project share. So this project share is different because I made this as a part of Jovi's design team. So Creating with Jovi here on YouTube invited me to be a part of her design team. So I am a design team member for the rest of this year. It's a 6-month little thing. So I wasn't in the market of being on a design team. And what's really funny about this quick little story is I was just telling one of my crafty friends earlier before she had invited me that I wasn't interested in being on any design teams because I just didn't have the time. And then lo and behold, here comes an email from Jovi. She's so sweet. She invited me to be a part of her design team. And of course, I couldn't not accept. What an honor. So thank you, Jovi, for inviting me, along with the other amazing, lovely, talented, crafty ladies here on YouTube. I will link all of them below. So be sure to check out their different projects they have created also, and will be for the next several months, once a month, a project using one of Jovi's digital sets. So she makes digital collections that you can find on her Etsy shop. I will link Jovi's Etsy shop in the description of this video, as well as her YouTube. Go give her a follow if you don't already. She has so much inspiration to share and lots of fun tutorials and things on all kinds of crafty goodness. So I think that you would enjoy her channel. I hope that you enjoy what I've created here and how I've used her digital kit, the Bee's Knees. It is an 8.5 inch by 11 inch printing. That's what you would print it off on. So you would buy it, purchase it, download it, and then print it off on your own paper. And I printed mine off on one sheet here. This is the only sheet that I did not use out of the whole collection. So I definitely used up the collection. There was a couple of ephemera pieces that I didn't use. I did cut them, but I did not end up using them. So this is the only sheet. So I used a little bit thicker cardstock. Like I said, it was a Crafter's Companion, and I just love the way that it prints for my inkjet printer, so that's why I chose to print it. And then I just trimmed off any excess edging just because I like the thickness of this paper, and it's a nice printer. It's a nice type of paper to print on. So I will link that paper below. It's just a white cardstock, but I love it for printing digital kits, and it just turned out really nice, and it's just the right amount of thickness to be able to create cards with. This kit is any of her digital kits are really awesome for journals, cards, altered books, junk journals, collages, things like that. But today I'm sharing with you, I've only shared a couple of projects like this where I make folios, and I just love making folios. Folios are a little bit different. They're meant to be a little bit flatter, although I love dimension. So I did add a little bit of dimension to this, as you can see. And I created this on my own. So I didn't follow a tutorial or anything. I'll explain what I did as we jump into it. So first I made a little belly band, and I made this with the different, with one of the sheets that came in her digital set, and I just cut it to the dimensions that I wanted. So and then I also just fussy cut this honeycomb from one of the pictures as well that comes in the kit. And then this little 3D little cutesy little bee. I love it. It came from a Prima pack that I got in one of my mystery boxes. And then I embellished with little tiny pearls here, half back pearls, and these came from Hobby Lobby. But I just love this digital kit, how beautiful it is with the purples and the blues and the greens. It's a very lovely kit. Okay, so what I did here is I went on my brother's Scan and Cut, and my brother's Scan and Cut came preloaded with some different files and like basic cut files. So if you have a machine, you can do that. If you have a die, use that. But what I did was cut a honeycomb shape here, and I created that as the base, and I did that with a light violet purple, and then I took the rest of and I downsized that same shape, and then I cut the different images and the pieces on her different digital kit pages in the design that I wanted it to be, so that way it'd be centered. So for example, in this first top shape here, I made a little pocket with the ephemera, and then or from a digital kit, I made my own little pocket. So I ripped it. I did the rip tear type of look here, as you can see, and I inked it. So this, I would say, is like a vintage Shabby Chic type of look, I guess you could say, is what I was going for with this kit. Because I just felt like it has the old and the new. So there's like the bright colors, and then there's also the vintage look, as you can see here. And I love that. So this is an ephemera piece that you could cut out, and then on the back side I layered it with another piece that was just on one of the larger sheets. So like I said, I cut this baby up, like the full sheets. I used every little bits and pieces that I could. I really like to take advantage of a kit like that, a digital kit. And then the rest of the pieces that I didn't use, I will save those for future, projects or things that I need in my scraps. So I really did use all that I could in this kit. So I'm really happy with doing that. It was a challenge for myself that I was like, I want to use the most pieces in this kit that I can. And at the end of this video, I will show you all the pieces and how I was able to cut. A lot of it, like, I was able to use, so there was nothing left and I threw it away. But anything that is left, I'll show you. So you can just see how I really took advantage of every single little piece that I could. Okay, so back to this. So I made a little folio, and I did it by doing this shape here of a honeycomb, and then I layered it. So it's going to open up, and I'm just going to open it up, and I decorated it on both sides, but we're going to show this side first because it's basically the front. Let me just fold this out. Some of my little tags are falling out. I gotta be a little bit slower here, getting too excited. Okay, and very carefully. And so I saw this type of design on Pinterest, but I did not follow any tutorials on how to do it. I just made my own. So like I said, I cut these shapes on my brother's Scan and Cut, and then I layered. And then these pieces here in between, I actually used a die that I already have from Anna Griffin. Okay, so to show you, I made this shape here for the base, and then I made a little bit smaller with the actual kit to layer here. And so that was the base. And then this is the little die piece that I used to be able to glue here. If you'd like a tutorial on how I did this, please let me know and I can totally do another one. But I just did this project as a project share. So I didn't make a tutorial on how I did this, but I created this myself. They do have dies. People sell kits that make a die for this type of little folio or album, but I just created it myself by doing this and then gluing here and this simple die. So you can cut a shape, like I said, any type of shape. It doesn't have to be this, but this just happened to be the perfect size die that came with my Anna Griffin, the purse die. So I was able to create this little flap here, which is here in the center of the different shapes, so that way I can make this folio. So the folio would fold up like this, very carefully, like so, and then you can flip it around and do the other side. So this is what it looks like open. Let me adjust the camera here. There we go. Okay, so let's make sure you can see everything. Okay, so yes, so that's what I did there. That's the shapes, so y'all can see. And here, we're going to just zoom in, or I'll hold it up, whatever works best, I guess. So this is the center part that I was showing you on the front. So this is one side, and then we'll flip it over and we'll show in detail the other side. So I layered all of the different cuts that I made for both sides, and then it gave a little bit of thickness for this folio as well. And you can stay as flat as possible, but I just wanted to give a little depth. Of course, I couldn't get too crazy because then when you fold it, as you could see, it wouldn't fold flat like a folio. should, but I like a little dimension, but that's why I did the little belly band to keep it in place so it could hold it. So yeah, anyways, let's zoom in here. So we'll talk about the first little section here. So I layered it with the kit, the digital kit, and then here, as you can see, I put little pearls that just went down and glued those on one by one, and with my little pickup tool. And then inside, I wanted to remove this ephemera, so I did it double. So this was a background, and then this was an ephemera. And then I inked the edges, as you can see. And then, like I said, I used one of the pieces that were just an extra piece from a background after I'd cut these out. So you can see that was here of that cube, or of that little section there. And then I just love how I can just put this little pocket. So I just did the rip design there on this pocket. These two flowers, these purple flowers, were gifted to me in a swap. And then I just put little rose gold, or actually these are just little gold little jemmies that were from Hobby Lobby, and glued it. The Collect Beautiful Moments, I layered that on, again, another little piece that I just cut from the collection. So like example, here's a scrap piece. So I just fussy cut by hand a bunch of things, and then just to layer this and give it dimension and to really use the kit, I put a little Collect Beautiful Moments sticker on top, and then put little 2 jemmies on each end, and then I just pop-up dotted this. So the Collect Beautiful Moments was from a haul that I recently did from Journal Say. So those stickers are similar to like a Tim Holtz. Okay, and then I put this little Prima flower here in between just to bring in the blues with the purples. I love that. And then we are going to move this over so I don't have to keep adjusting the camera. I'm just going to move. So we'll go over here to this flap. So this flap, I was able to use these 2 pieces here that were in the kit. And I just created my own ephemera with them by die cutting. So these were ephemera you could cut out any way that you would like. I cut them out with a ticket die, as you can see, and then I inked the edges. I used this little honeycomb pieces here that I cut from another die that was a background of honeycomb, and I was able to use these little mini pieces that were the pop out, like the throwaways. I love to save those and incorporate those into a project. So I still save the ones I didn't use, and then these I used throughout the project because they came from the project in another section here, which I'll show you. So we have black and white that came from the digital kit, and then I rhinestone little stones, and then this is a colored honeycomb that came from the digital kit as well. And I'm going to grab one of those kit pieces here from the digital kit and show you really quick. I'll show the rest at the end, but like you'll see here how I die cut or circle punched and fussy cut some of these pieces myself. So these were 2 images that I didn't use, and then I didn't use the bike. And this little bird you'll have already seen throughout the project. So I only used him once, I believe. Okay, so he comes several times. So there's some different ways that you can use it. So it's really cool. And there's plenty in there that you can use it in different projects if you'd like, but this is a bees knees kit, so I try to use mostly the bees things, but there are, like I said, some birds or the bicycle, and there's some different things, other elements through this kit, so it really is versatile. So then I made a little flap here, as you can see, and then if you open up the flap, it was just white on this back side because I printed this kit on white paper. And then I just cut out and fussy cut some different pieces from the kit that have bees in it and flowers to incorporate. You could have left those tickets white on that side and did like a little journaling spot if you'd like, but I just thought that would be pretty to do that. And then I layered some ribbon here, like a fabric ribbon, and some flowers I created with rhinestones in the centers. This is from the digital kit that I cut and then layered it and glued it just to give more dimension. I love the tones of this. I almost went with a cream cardstock, but then decided that I thought the light purple, the lilac purple type would just bring out the blues and the purples in this kit. So I decided to go with the purple instead. And then we go to the next little section. So this, I added a little trim here to give it some texture and dimension and some pop of color. I cut this out. This was a background, but I cut out this piece, which was over on this side of the page, and then I inked it, and then I made a little flap here again with these little honeycomb sections that came from this next section over here. As you can see, a little glimpse of it. So the pop outs of those, I made my own little flap book, and then I rhinestoned in there. So this could be like a little journaling or note section, or you could put a photo, whatever it is that you choose if you wanted to, if you're making a folio like this. And then next here we have beehive. So I used a die cut in a just colored cardstock that to pull out. I don't know if you can see it, but on this digital kit, she has like a honeycomb fainted on the blue with the yellow. So to make that pop, I was like, let's double layer. Let's layer honeycomb on top of the honeycomb. And then this is a ephemera piece from her kit as well, but I used a die in this shape, and it has the bee here as well as the honeycomb there. Don't forget to fly. That was just one of the stickers that I had. And then these flowers I added with for dimension and layering and for pops of color. The beehive came from her kit. And then these bees here came from her kit. And I chose to die cut those out with a little stamp design. Just to give it dimension, I pop-up dotted it, and then I inked the edges. So it has a little vintage feel, but not the whole thing. I thought about inking these edges, but then I was like, what would be the purpose then of the light purple? So I decided not to. If I would have went with the cream cardstock for the base, then I would have inked the whole thing. So it kind of, like I said, it pulls a little shabby chic and a little vintage at the same time. Next over here, I did a little like band here, and I did that by just cutting out a piece of the cardstock or of her design. As you can see, like I just used these pieces that I didn't use, something like that. And then I glued and taped the edges. On top of that are some ephemera pieces that I fussy cut by hand. That's the dripping honey. I love that. I hope you can see how fun that is. And then here again, and then I layered it, and these were ephemera pieces with these stacked containers of honey. And then that's in the background here as well. So let me pull out these little tags so you can see. I absolutely adore that. I thought it turned out super, super cute. And the way that I was able to lay it out and still have the little bee in the corner, that really made my day. And of course, I put little tags, and these were ephemeras. I chose to use the little Tim Holtz stapler and staple the tiny little staple there, inked the edges of this, and punched this out, this little tag shape. And I was able to, like I said, use every little bit and piece that I could in her designs and ephemera. And then this was actually just probably a part of the background, and I used that. This was an actual ephemera piece, and I chose to cut it out with a tag die. And then I added, and I just knotted a little ribbon there for trim. So I thought that would be super fun. And then of course the back side is just white, but you can add anything you want there, notes or images, depending on how you're using this little folio. And then in the next section, I'm going to show you that I used a similar page of ephemera that was like this page I showed you at the very beginning, like with the different older like book pages or things like that. And I used that to cut out with a die that was of a picket fence. So I love this picket fence die, especially with the texture that it adds, or like the dimension, by layering it on top of and then using it as a pocket in this little page. And then I pop it dotted and fussy cut by hand of this little bee, who you will also find throughout the kit. He's also here in this background. So I thought that was cute. And then layered these little tags in there. But let's just look at this background for a second. It's so pretty. You have the big, large honeycomb here, some pink flowers popping out there, and then you just have some water scenery in a house, and I just love that. So that's why I did the picket fence, which makes an appearance on the other side as well. And then I just layered some flowers. I put some little pearls in the center. And then these little tickets, it has bee culture. Love that. And I added a little inking around the edges. Die cut this with a tag die. And then this one I punched out with a punch. And then again, just did a little ribbon at the top and used my Tim Holtz stapler to staple a mini little staple on there. Gemmed in the centers and then inked the edges of the tags. And then the last one on this side is right here. And I love how this one turned out as well. So this one, I of course layered different paper flowers for my stash, and then like a vellum sticker flower as well. And then I put in here the little stickers: do more than exist, remember to play, find joy in the ordinary. And then the background is absolutely darling. It has a table with honey and the bees on there. I just love it with the greenery and everything. So I used the rest of the remaining sheet of this paper from this background. I used to circle punch out different circle sizes. Then on top of that, I layered it with the little gemmies, the gold ones, glued, and then of course the stickers. And then here I was able to cut out little flowers, fussy cut by hand from the collection that matched with the background, and then I was able to glue that on top of there. So I absolutely adore that, how simple this page was, but how beautiful it turned out. And then of course I inked the edges of the circles, and then I just pop-up dotted those. So I love, love, love and adore how this first side, which I call the front side, turned out of this little honeycomb folio. Now let me turn it over and show you the other side. So what this does is you can fold it up like so, very carefully. And then we'll flip it to the other side. So that's how it folded up. And then again, you would just put the belly band. So now I'm going to fold it this side down. So we're going to flip this actually. There we go. And then I'm going to show you this other side. So let me zoom out. There we go. So you can all see how this unfolds. And then this would be the opposite side. So I call this the back side, but really it's whatever side and whatever way you want to fold it up, and then put the belly band over it. Okay, so let's zoom in here and see the center of this one. All right, so on this one, I was able to cut a board. This is the bottom of one of the pages, and let me see if I can find it. Because like I said, I try to take advantage of this. So I had already used some of this. So on this larger piece, I was able to cut out some things here to use. So I use that as like a little pocket or a little, to put through a little card. So this ephemera piece came with the kit, and I absolutely love it. And it comes in a larger piece, as you can see here, where I did end up using and cutting some bees. And so this is like the queen bee, the worker bee, and the drone bee. And then I just put this through here. So I cut this out, and I love it because it has the honey and hive, the hive and honeybee, excuse me. It's like the background, so you can see. And then I just layered that and then made this a little pocket to put this little ephemera. And like I said, you can double layer this on the back side, but I just left it white so it can be used by whoever to put a photo or a little note in there. Okay, so let's start from this one first. Okay, so as you can see, I did a little trim here. I embossed this with a new embossing folder that I just purchased not too long ago, and hauled that from a scrapbook store that was going out of business. And I love how this turned out. This is the cream base that I was talking about that I thought about using as the base instead, but I decided to go with the lilac purple. So anywho, we are going to continue here. Where was I? Okay, so yes. So I made a little pocket there, so you can put whatever you want in here. But like I said, I didn't put anything in that pocket. But as you can see, here's two little punches that of smaller of this. This was from the background, and then here's this image here that I used in the background, but a smaller section because you can find different ephemera throughout in different sizes. So you can cut it however you like. So I punched this, but I did not end up using these two. But I'll show you where I used images like that. Excuse me if you hear my dog barking. Okay, so here we have a little bee pop-up that I just fussy cut. I fussy cut these flowers, rhinestone the edges, added this trim for dimension, embossed this little piece here for dimension for that pocket. And then I love the background with the woman and the children, and they're going to collect honey or check on the bees. I thought that was so, so cute, and it's very, very fun and vintage feeling. Okay, so then we have this little pocket here, and you will see that the background is absolutely darling. So let me just take out these little cards here, and then I layered it with some flowers from the backgrounds or pieces throughout the kit, and made my own ephemera, and I glued it on top with the queen, drone, and worker from the bees. Here's the little picket fence, and I used the background of ephemera to die cut that. And then I layered, this is another piece again, as you can see, and I layered Start Doing Things You Love, a sticker over that. So like I said, I really took advantage of this kit and used all the pieces that I could. And then I layered some little flowers with little gemmies in the center. I love this honey there with the comb and the bee and the blue that pops. And then these were little ephemera pieces, and I just cut these out with different dies and punches, and just love, love, love how they turned out. And then I inked the edges and made them a little vintage antique-y, and then those can go in there. Then we're going to move up here to the top, and I layered a paper yellow flower. I cut out honey, and I love that with the bees faintedly there in the background. And then I pop-up dotted and these circle punches that I did with the different ephemera like I showed you. The bird made an appearance here, added little stones. Live gently upon this earth, loving the background for this. And then over here, uh-oh, I'm losing my tags. That's the only thing. My little tags like to fall out. All right. So then this one I matched the flowers. I had some of these flowers and they are on the background here. So I thought that would be perfect. Put little centers in the center of little flat back pearls. And those pearls came from Picket Fence. This is a little flat back button I had, or a little button that I made into a flat back by cutting out the shank. I will link that tutorial on how I do it. It's pretty simple, but I love it because the little character of the bee adds like a pop of color and fun, and then the little beehive. And I made this little pocket with a die that I have, and I just die cut out her ephemera and turned that into a pocket. And then I love it. Here's the cute little bee making an appearance again in this background. And then these are the worker queen bee and drone bee, and I cut those out with tag die and then ink the edges and then put little yellow ribbon on there. And I just love, love, love how they go in this little pocket so perfectly, and it looks so pretty there with the yellow bows. And then I did 3 because I did 3 flowers here. So I love how that one turned out. And then here, this one, I cut out the ephemera on the same kind of die like I did on the opposite side of the bee, and then added a little glittered flower that someone gave me in a swap. Let me zoom in. And then I made this little tag flip here. So like I shared with you, I had punched these out with a punch. And these are the 2 that I didn't end up using, but I just punched any remaining background that there was and different ephemeras. And then I created this little flap here. And I used the honeycomb again, as you can see, to make these little connecting waterfall little flaps. So you can put whatever you want there. And this was an ephemera that came in there, and it says be kind, but I cut the words separately and then inked the edges. And then the little bee buzzing, that was also a part of her ephemera pack, or a part of the ephemera in the kit, the digital kit. And then let me zoom back out. And then I layer lace and velvet like a trim here. And then you can also take this little flap that I made. And like I said, I didn't follow a tutorial. This is just in my mind. Just came up with this on my own because you see these types of projects and ideas everywhere. And I've done it in other projects before. So I just created my own. And I used the pieces that I had. So like I said, I used these little pieces here that were honeycombs, and I just scored them down the middle or center or folded them, and then was able to glue these little punched tags to make a little waterfall. And then it can be held in the book by that little piece here. Also, you can, add your own. As you can see, you could add your own little things in there in this little as a pocket too. So I always love to make pockets. That's the simplest way to make like a pocket, is with the trims like that. Okay, and then the last one, let me zoom out because it's getting, there we go. Now I can zoom in. Okay, so the last little place card here, this honeycomb. I love this background with the bees. Isn't that beautiful? And then I did lace here. Oh, and my cat's trying to come in. Hold on. If you have a cat that gets anxiety and like has to be in the room when a door is shut, we'll leave it in the comments below, because I know if you have a cat, I'm sure they do it, because all cats are this way. And my cat just happens to, oh, here she is. Azariah, you're messing up Mama's camera, honey. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to film, you little silly girls. I'm trying to film Mama's baby. What are you doing? You're gonna get cat hair everywhere. And I just, y'all, I promise, I use a lint roller. I dust. I wipe down with the little Clorox wipes too on my desk, just to make sure. Oh my goodness, this camera's so good. You can see her little dandruff. And you guys still will see. Oh, look at this. She's trying to eat the bee. No, and she still will get, there's still cat hair. I zoom in on when I'm editing my, oh my gosh, when I'm editing my videos, and I'm like, ah, Azzy hair, cat hair everywhere, no matter what. And Mama does. I clean up all the time. And right before I film, I do it again and again, because I'm like, it drives me batty. But y'all, I know if you have Kikis in the house and then you understand. Okay. No more kisses, no more loving. I gotta do this. Don't sit on my project now. Come on. Okay. Let me get back to this. Okay. A little helper here again runs the craft room. Okay. So let's get back to this. As you can see, I cut out here, inked, a pop-up dotted, made my little ephemera. This little blue and yellow was from a part of the background sheet that I was able to cut, and I cut it in the shape that trimmed the edge of the honeycomb to make my own little pocket here. And then I added these little ephemeras that I made and punched out with little tags from her kit. And these were of little bees. I got stuck with the little pop-up dot there. And there we go. But I actually like it that it keeps it in there, you know? Anyways, so this is what I did there. And then I did a little tag here. It's another little antique vintage ephemera. And look at the background with the book. I love the layering of her digital kits, and then it was just really came together as I was putting it all together. And I love how this folio turned out. And then of paper flowers, of course, fabric flowers and lace. And then I just love how it turned out. It's so pretty, isn't it? Anyways, oh, there my tag fell out, or my little, there we go. So yes, when folding this up, that's the only thing, and it looks like I lost a flower. Well. I don't know where that guy went, but we'll have to find. So anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Sorry for the little interruption here, as he likes to come and say hello. She hasn't been in, I don't think, that many videos recently, because I try to film when it's quiet in the house, because if you know, if you're a YouTuber and you do crafty videos too, it's hard sometimes to do all this when people are in the home and in the house. And so I try not to film on weekends. I try to film during the week in the early mornings, so that way it's quiet and nobody's around. But this is how this beauty turned out. I absolutely adore it. I love this folio so much. Okay, and let me share with you. So this is how I ended up using this. Like I said, this was the only sheet that I fully did not use. And I will use it, of course. It just didn't, I ran out of space in this little folio because it's a honeycomb. But as you can see, I used and used and used. So there were some pieces here that I didn't use, but I did use here. But for the most part, I used this kit like crazy. And there's so many pieces that I already cut or threw away. But like you can see here, I cut out 2 of the shapes, but I used as much as I could from this kit. It was such a fabulous kit. I highly recommend. Here was 2 ephemeras. I used these images already throughout the project. This was what I originally was going to use for the belly band, and then I ended up deciding to use this piece. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. Like I said, I will save these little pieces, but see, I really used the heck out of this. And I cut shapes and then still cut out the circles. That was the bees that I could find throughout the project. These little tags, like I said, I didn't end up using. I could put it in the little pockets, but I felt like, well, I had already used that image, so I wasn't going to. There's also these type of images. This is where I cut out my some different, like the honey things, and then I was able to use a little strip here. But these were the 2 pieces as well that I was able to do with the bee, and I die cut those out. And then it did come with a large image of, my cat's all over my stuff, of this, but I had already used it, so I didn't. Excuse the sounds. Somebody's calling on another phone. So, and my grandma's phone. And then this little, I wasn't able to use this bike, but I will use it in some other projects. But as you can see, I used and used and used so much. Like I said, these kits are awesome for so many things. So, you really will get your money's worth, because this digital kit is awesome. And I hope this inspires you to create a project like this, a folio with the bees, like the honeycomb, or you could even make this book where it flips. I thought of that, but I love the opening up and making it a larger honeycomb. I just thought that was really cool. So, and I love how this project turned out, and the colors, how they popped, and everything went together, and I had so much fun creating it. So this is my very first project with the design team for Creating with Jovi. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope y'all are inspired. If you do end up purchasing this digital kit, leave in the comments below, because I'd love to know what you plan on making with it. And I would love for you to let Jovi know that I sent you and that you saw this kit from me. She also has so many amazing kits, so definitely check it out. She sells some of her journals on Etsy as well. She didn't ask us to say that. I'm just saying that because she's a talented, crafty friend here on YouTube, and I love to support. I'm so honored to be a part of her design team. As I said, I'm not a part of any other design teams. I didn't really plan on being a part of any, but I was honored that she asked, so I couldn't say no. And I'm looking forward to next month's project and seeing what kit I will use to create with and share with y'all. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye!